This is the, sorry, Councillor White, this is with respect to the ADR Chambers Integrity Commissioner's Office investigation report. Go ahead, Councillor.
Thank you, Your Worship. You know, after reading this and being involved in this fiasco since day one, I am just very disappointed. To have a two-term council member be deemed to have brazen contempt for the office of the Integrity Commissioner, the town administration, and of course, taxpayers' dollars, it's quite saddening. It's shocking to see how the evidence was misrepresented by the applicant, only to serve her agenda of gaslighting people to think that we paid $1,000 or somebody paid $1,000 for us to attend a fundraising event, which is simply not true. While my actions were deemed ordinary, in the conclusion that the applicant was unaware of the purpose of the rule is damning. As I said, she's on the council for 2 terms. And lastly, to have the actions of the office of our MPP called into question is just beyond belief. Again, all I can really say is that I'm just really sadly let down. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you, Councillor White, and now I'll look to Councillor Belanger.
Yes, thank you, through the mayor, and I will say I'm also very disappointed in this and have a number of comments. One thing I do want to acknowledge that Lorraine Guzak, our chair of the library board, expressed her excitement about a new K-12, and I will tell you, related to his Integrity Commissioner report, a number of members of council, actually the mayor was away at the time, were invited to have the opportunity to advocate for a new high school with Minister Lecce and some of our senior staff, and there was no cost to the municipality. And, you know, I think we all agree how badly needed a high school was. But with zero evidence, Mrs. Bray accuses council members of wrongdoing. And to what end? I assume Mrs. Bray agrees that Wasaga Beach clearly needs and deserves a high school. So I can only surmise that the intent was to discredit this council. And I have pointed out many times, there are a small group of individuals within our community on social media regularly that look at every opportunity to misrepresent and try to discredit this council. And in this case, as Councillor White said, at considerable expense to the taxpayer. Because although, fortunately, the complaint against Deputy Mayor Snell and myself were dismissed quickly by the Integrity Commissioner, there was an investigation. And these are lawyers, our Integrity Commissioners, and there's considerable expense involved. And I want to point out how rare it is that an Integrity Commissioner would take the action to make this report public, because this is very rare. I've been here 9 years and this has never happened. But basically the Integrity Commissioner felt this was an extreme case. This was a case with no evidence that members of council were accused of wrongdoing and breaking rules. And then when the Integrity Commissioner does his due diligence and finds that there was no wrongdoing, what does Mrs. Bray do? She breaks the rules by not adhering to the confidentiality of the report and letting that information out into the public and to a paper to I guess it's but so it's a very sad situation, and I think our residents really need to understand or come to their own conclusion as to what the motives were. But further in the report, Mrs. Brace indicates she had received a photo of the event from a friend. We believe the photo was taken from Minister Leger and shared that with our MPP, Brian Saunderson. And to my knowledge, no one has seen this photo. And I'm somewhat concerned as to how this photo went from the office of the MPP, and I'm sure Brian Saunderson's would be concerned as well, is how that got out into the public and to Mrs. Bray might be something he wants to look into. So again, just a very sad situation, and again, to our residency, please understand that there are some active members of our community that are trying to discredit the very hard work of the council that I believe has been doing a great job of always putting our community first. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Belanger. Councillor White?
Thank you, for your worship, for putting me out of turn here. I wanted to clarify something that Councillor Belanger said. It's not that there was no evidence presented, because that would be misleading. Ms. Bray did present evidence. The evidence was very clear that there was no gift given to myself or any of you who attended with me to this event. The evidence that she presented was very clear in that she changed the evidence by saying it had, in the complaint, she had written that the evidence said something different than it actually had said. That's where the misrepresentation came in. So this is where I get really upset about this, is she had evidence, clear evidence, that said there was no cost to anybody, therefore there was no gift received. And she changed that. And that's the point where I get really upset, because it's that change that caused the investigation, which cost the taxpayers of this town money. Now, whether it's $1, $1,000, or $1 million, it doesn't matter. The taxpayer dollars that we collect in this municipality should go to servicing the community, and this does not serve the community. It serves some sort of an ego. So I just want to be very clear that the evidence was there, and it was not in her favor.
Thank you, Councillor. Deputy Mayor Snell?
Thank you, Your Worship. Through you to your point, Councillor White, I recall in our last meeting when the report came forward, the cost to the taxpayers is $11,000. So significant for sure, and disappointing.
Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. Further to that, Deputy Mayor Snell, and through Your Worship, I did look, so the reporting period from the IC, last council agenda, was from February 2023 to February 2024. I did look at the accounts payable to date, and it appears that we have spent another $2,500 on Integrity Commissioner services.
Thank you very much. Now we're looking to Councillor Ego.
Thank you, and through you, Your Worship, yes, I'm focusing on the money as well and the confidentiality, that I'd like the public to realize the cost of this has not come from this council investigating other councils. It's come from a member of the public, as who we know, and that it's really important. Other people have been sanctioned, but you are not allowed to speak to that. So that she went public with this, then that errs. So it's important that the public realize the cost that this is costing the taxpayer through no fault of this council. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ego. Any other questions or comments? Go ahead, Mr. CAO.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. I wanted to also share with council, and I'm not going to share a great deal today, that this issue, the IC issue, is simply the tip of the iceberg here. There are a number of other issues that pertain to this individual and their partner that are negatively impacting this corporation, not only staff, but the taxpayers of our community. There's another item going on, which I will not get into detail, which is of equal cost to the taxpayer. So the financial cost is well over $22,000 currently that these fishing expeditions are costing. What I would recommend to council is I'd be prepared to report back with details of all of the issues that we are facing as a result of these expeditions. So if you'd like, I'd be happy to bring that forward to the next council meeting.
Thank you, Andrew. I think council would absolutely be interested in that, but I'll just look to the clerk procedurally, make sure we're on solid ground to do that. I ask procedurally because we do not want to break any of the code of conduct or procedural bylaws in doing so, but I think it is vitally important that the general public understand what is happening here and the amount of tax dollars that is being wasted, quite frankly, on this. So procedurally, or with respect to the code of conduct, Madam Clerk, would that be appropriate?
Thank you, Your Worship. Currently, there's a motion before council to receive this for information. It would be appropriate under council requested staff reports to direct the CAO to return with a report of that nature. At that time, the CAO and I would work together and understand the contents of that report and review the open meeting rules of the Municipal Act and determine how most appropriate to bring that information back to council is.
All right, so seeing that, I'm just going to make some comments. Are any other staff who wish to comment on this item? All right, I have some comments, and then we'll go to the motion. I'd like to say this is disappointing, but it's not, because I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised in the least bit. I'm a little bit disgusted, but not surprised. But I want to make very clear to the public, because I understand that perhaps the question is already out there in the public, why it is that council is making this particular issue and this particular investigation from the Integrity Commissioner public. And I want to be clear, council did not make this issue public. Mrs. Bray made this issue public by breaching the confidentiality of the Integrity Commissioner's investigation. And in follow-up to that, the investigation and the Integrity Commissioner, sent this letter to the town to respond to the fact that this breach of confidentiality occurred. And he actually mentions in his report, if you read it, which is on the town's website under this agenda, that this is a special circumstance, that he does so because of this. Now, I'll be the first to say I do not agree with the way the Integrity Commissioners operate, in the fact that, you know, an investigation is confidential, and if a member of this council is found guilty, then it becomes public. But if a member of council is found not guilty, then it's to remain confidential. Now, I don't know anywhere else in the free world where if you're accused of something, you don't have every right to defend yourself and to make known your defense and your accuser public, except for in this situation. So I do not agree with it. I believe if I'm accused of something, I should have the right to scream it from the rooftops. But at the end of the day, it is what it is, and so we respect this rule. And, you know, I'm sure that Ms. Bray might indicate that she's not bound by the rules of the Integrity Commissioner, and today she's right. She's just an everyday citizen now. But I would hope that whether you agree with this council or the Integrity Commissioner or anything to do with the process of local government, that having sat in one of these seats, that you would at least respect the office and the process. Clearly, that's not the case. I also am disgusted with the fact that, you know, Mrs. Bray indicates and implicates one of our local MPPs in releasing this photo to the public somehow to get back to her. Now, I could care less that the photo was released, because it's a photo. I was out of town, but when I was contacted by the CAO to say we've been invited to this, would you like council and yourself to attend? Obviously, I couldn't, I was out of the country, but I immediately asked, are we breaking any rules here or any of our policies? And when told no, I encourage this. Our job as council is to do just that, to lobby if we see fit, to seek out individuals that can help move our community forward. I mean, we have conferences every year that the federal, provincial government puts on, AMO puts on, Roma puts on, Good Road puts on, where we have opportunities to do just that, to meet with members of parliament, to be able to lobby them for things that we require and need within our communities or our counties, or simply just to move the province forward in a way that we see is perhaps maybe better. And every council, 444 municipalities in this province, takes full advantage of this. And I think that this council would be remiss and negligent, quite frankly, if given an opportunity where we'd be breaking no rules or ethics, to attend and have another opportunity with then the Minister of Education to promote Wasaga Beach and why we desperately, our children desperately need a fulsome and full level of education, and to have a high school that I'm proud to say I implemented a task force in my first term of council, and we fought like hell to try and get. And the success is here. Councillor White, you sat on that committee. The chair of our library board sat on that committee and a task force, and we worked hard, and we were quite successful. And here we sit today with not only a Catholic school from K to 12 being built in our community and will be open for our kids in the next 3 years, but now a drastic shift, which I'm happy to see by the Simcoe County District School Board, to move us up to number 2 on their priority list. And this council, this staff, will do everything we can to assist, to lobby, to meet with members of parliament, to make sure that we are selected and that moves forward so we have a second high school for our children in the not-too-distant future. And how anyone could try to weaponize that is beyond me. It's appalling. It's sickening. When we announced, and when the announcement was made for the Catholic high school, these same group of people come out about why it shouldn't be and why it should be a public school and why we're paying favoritism to a Catholic board. Why didn't we make this offer to both boards? Well, we did. But it doesn't matter. The point is our children win here. And I don't think there could be anything that this council does, or any council can do for that matter, nothing more important than to make sure that we look after our future generations. So shame on Mrs. Bray for the amount of tax dollars she's wasting, yet preaches we do the same thing. And, you know, I could go on and on. I have the report in front of me. I've read it countless times ad nauseum. But I don't think there's a need. I think the point is clear. We did not make this public. Mrs. Bray made this public by breaching the rules of what she accuses us of doing. So, Council, I want to be clear. Kudos to the members that were able to make it. Job well done. Pictures or no pictures is irrelevant. I'm happy that Minister Lecce thought it was great to take a photo and send that to the local MPP to say, hey, look what your constituents are doing, and look what I'm doing meeting with your constituents. So the kids can have a high school. We did it once, we've done it several times, and we'll do it again if given the opportunity. I'll leave it at that. There's no other questions or comments from council? We do have a motion that recommends that the ADR Chambers Integrity Commissioner's Office Investigation Report IC 326-06-0624 dated August 13th, 2024 be received for information. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Belanger, seconded by Councillor White. Madam Clerk?
Thank you, Your Worship. On the recorded vote, Councillor Belanger.
In favor.
Councillor DeLeo.
In favor.
Councillor Eagle.
In favor.
Deputy Mayor Snow.
In favor?
Councillor Timms.
In favor.
Councillor White.
In favor.
Mayor Smith.
In favor.
Carries unanimously. Thank you, Your
Thank you,
Worship.
Madam Clerk. Now, do we need another motion with respect to the staff report request?
Yes, it would be most appropriate in that section of the agenda, and I'll remind Your Worship.
Thank you very much. All right, moving on to the next item, which is the Sports and